I'm sizzling, boys. What is going on, people? Welcome back to the podcast. Stop Crying Poser, greatest podcast known to man as voted by Casper, the Friendly Ghost, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Salem, Banshee, Beelzebub, Damien, Draco, Clarice, Elvira, Cruella, DeVille. We do this podcast every single Friday right around 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. Who do we have in the chat? Day, something Saturn, iBook Boy, Trenty, Satrebe, Cam, Trenty, Fletcher, Day, Fletcher, Day, Trent, Cam. I missed some of the people that may have tried to check in because you guys wouldn't shut the fuck up in the chat. Doesn't matter. Happy to be here. It's been a very eventful week, but not for a good reason. Also, if you couldn't figure this out, or maybe you're listening to the podcast instead of watching it, I am dressed as a giant piece of bacon, and instead of being in my usual room, I am in a pumpkin patch, the only stream on Twitch right now, being a piece of bacon, doing a podcast in a pumpkin patch that will eventually be giving away free Ninja Lifestyle sticker packs. I got to be the most entertaining stream in the world. Well, it's been a really rough start to the week. Just last week, right around Friday, one of my friends had kind of a crazy mental breakdown, right? Kind of went through a breakup and got fired and got kicked out of their apartment all on the same day. Then they kind of just went crazy. Then they ended up in the hospital. Then their family tried to scatter, figure out who's going to pay for what, how they're going to get him back on his feet. And then I volunteered. I said, you know what? It's one of my best friends. I'll take over for the dog. Since I already have a dog and my dog and his dog are good friends, I could babysit the dog. Well, I didn't realize that taking care of a dog that's not your dog, it ends up being a ton of work. I wasn't able to sleep most nights because at night, my dog and that dog would start getting crazy. Eventually, they started getting really aggressive around the food bowl and the water bowl. I had to keep my eyes on them at all times. If I had to leave the house, I had to separate them. My dog was getting jealous that there was another dog. Every time I petted my dog, the other dog would run and jump on my lap, causing another, not quite like a fight, but definitely like a warning. My dog's a little bit tougher than this other dog and weighs more and is stronger and is more active and is younger and has stronger jaws and teeth. So I was really, really stressing out over the whole thing. And not only just that, and my buddies in the hospital, and I didn't know for how long this would last. Turns out, although it was very stressful, everything did end up being okay. But my God, it really made me appreciate my dog. I love my dog. That doesn't mean I love all dogs. And that doesn't mean that just because you love dogs, that more of them will make you happier. Because it really messed me up. Not being able to sleep affected my ability to think straight, and make decisions. So even trying to do my usual weekly tasks, cleaning or ninja review or skating, even those were hindered by this other dog. And it's one of those things where you want to be helpful, right? This guy's having a really rough time. You want to do your part. He would do it for you. But at the same time, dude, I was really starting to go crazy. If you guys were watching me on the nightly Twitch streams, you could tell I was really losing my mind and not sleeping. And then if you saw, I think, the ninja review that came out on Monday, I was just completely in a bad mood, half asleep. And then eventually on one of those days I was so tired I took 3 naps in one day. Just because if I'm not able to sleep at night and I'm not able to, when I do like a ninja review or even like a podcast like this, there needs to be a certain level of like brain functioning just for me to try to make jokes. And there also has to be a certain level of energy so that I can project and try to make these seemingly boring topics into something exciting. That's typically the goal of the podcast, maybe to try to make you guys laugh or be entertaining. while also kind of making a diary of my life. But that becomes fucking hard when I have no will to live. So that was really shitty. Speaking of dogs, though, most of you guys who are in here already know I have really good news about the dog. If you guys have been following the story from last podcast and the podcast before that, my dog had a growth on his foot. I noticed it was growing and growing, and it growed so quickly it like tripled in size in 3 weeks. And it started to look like, if you can picture a dog's toenail, it looked like my dog was growing an extra toenail out of his leg, like a candy corn shaped, I don't know, cyst or lump, like protruding, and it was hard like a fingernail. And I went to one vet. They charged me $70, and they said, yeah, that's something. And I said, what is it? And they said, I don't know what it is, but we can take it out. We can remove it for $1,200. And I said, holy fuck, that seems crazy. Why am I giving you $70 just for you to tell me nothing? They don't know what it is. I had to pay just for them to tell me that I'm allowed to pay more. I'm paying for the ability to pay $1,000. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for your help. I'm glad all that dog school paid off for you to tell me that I don't know what anything is, but we can cut it off. Yeah, I'm aware. I also have knives at home. Like, we could all do this, but I'm paying for you and all this knowledge that you supposedly have. So, didn't like that vet. Went back to my original vet. Why did I switch vets? Because previously my original vet had done some shady shit. They gave me a bottle of super fancy prescribed dog shampoo for like $30. And then a few days later, I find out Walmart sells the exact same one for like $8. So I thought that was really lame. And I think they may have, I'm not sure positively, I think they may have bought this from someone else who was selling it because they put their like vet branding over what was probably the old price tag. So that's fucking super annoying. Anyways, ended up going back to them for the second. So I went to the one vet, they said 70. I went back to my old ripoff vet, and they said, well, we don't know what it is, but we're going to test it today. And within 15 minutes, I can tell you if it's cancerous or not cancerous. And I said, at least you're doing something. And if you guys can guess in a comment how much they charged me for that, I'd love to hear your guys' guesses. But after all that was over, they stabbed him with a needle and sucked out the juices from inside of this wound on him. And then I think he really didn't like that. So we got home. I paid the bill. They told me there was no cancer. So that was really good news. I was really happy. But now my dog has a foot that's bleeding because they put a needle through the growth that was on his leg. So now, before it didn't really bother him, now it is bothering him because he's been stabbed. So he started licking it and clawing at it and pawing at it. Anyways, for them to do the test and tell me it was not cancer, it was a little over $300. They also said they can remove it later in the week for, again, $1,200. And then they would also do like a teeth cleaning, and then altogether it would be like $1,500 because they were going to have to give him anesthesia or something. Just a crazy price. It was like between $1,500 and $2,000. So my dog, much like me, were a little bit frugal. He looked down at his own hand, and then he looked at me, and he said, Dad. I said, yes, son. Yes, my little baby Koopa. He said, Father, $1,500? I could bite this shit off myself. And I said, young man, I don't know if that's a good idea, but you're a grown man at this point. I looked on the wall of dog ages, and it says like what his age would be in adults. My dog's 50 years old. So I figured, you know what? You're older than me. You can make your own decisions. So he bit his own fucking growth off of his own hand and ripped it off. And I found it on the ground, and now he seems perfectly fine. He does have kind of a, I don't know what you'd call it. I mean, obviously something's missing from inside of his finger, but the whole growth completely removed. He sawed it clean off with his teeth, and he saved me $1,500. by doing the surgery himself. So I know that's not the safest way to go about dog shit, but also if the dog can chew it off of his own body without being under too much stress or pain, then why could they not do like a local anesthetic, you know, like inject him with something numbing and then cut it off right there? Maybe they were worried about bleeding. I don't know what the real problem was, but clearly at this point, for my dog to scrape off this wound, scrape off the growth himself, I feel like that kind of proves that this is not a $1,500 procedure. So just a little bit annoying in my opinion, but I am very happy and relieved that the whole thing is over. So that's good. And you know what? My dog is more like me than we ever knew. We both don't want to spend a ton of money on worthless shit. Also, I'm going to take this bacon outfit off because I'm sweating like a goddamn pig. All right, the outfit is off. I'm not sure how. So my plan is to go bar hopping tonight, maybe, as long as I can get some friends that want to come hang out with me. I'm going to wear the bacon outfit, even though I'm not really like a super Halloween guy. But now I'm wondering if I'm going to be sweating like that. I mean, first off, bitches love bacon. But then when they take the bacon outfit off, if you're just some sweaty pig, I mean, basically, you know what? A pig is bacon. So they should know what they're in for. Kind of a topic change here. I feel like I let myself down a little bit. And I don't want any judgment. I don't want any advice for this, you know, because I already know what everyone's going to say. But earlier this week, on Friday, when all that shit was happening with the breakdown and the dogs, I was like, you know what? I need to take like 7 days off drinking because going through all this shit while hungover is making it twice as hard, 10 times harder. Just being able to focus and get my daily shit done. Not only am I like mentally stressed and I haven't slept and I have these dogs that are constantly fucking just messing around. Not only all that, but I'm also having to deal with some of this hungover. So I said to myself, you know what? I'll take 7 days off drinking, or at least 6 days, right? I'll go from Friday to Friday, and then on that Friday, I'll drink again. And then what kind of sucks, okay? I made it to like Tuesday, which is, I mean, really a letdown because I was totally committed. And just like always, it's always the same thing. Something fun ends up happening. Right? You're like, I'll take 7 days off. It's really easy to not drink 7 days if all 7 days I'm just sitting at home, like, I don't know, like watching skate videos or editing or something. But I had somebody come to town, one of my favorite Mario players, and they were like, hey, I'm only going to be in town for a few days. Would love to hang out, play some pool. I got to playing pool. I gave them a tour of downtown. We went to a burger place, went downtown, showed them how the slot machines work, video poker, Keno, took some cool pictures. Eventually even brought him over here, went to another bar to play pool, went to another bar to play pool. And it was one of those things where it's like, dude, I've never met this guy in real life. Why not have a couple of beers? And a couple of beers turns into like 6 or 7 beers. Then we're having a good time. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, I said I was going to quit drinking. Also, when the night started, I was kind of like, oh, I could do non-alcoholic beer. That way I could feel like I'm in it. But then the moment I saw him, I got so happy. I was like, dude, I'm in such a good mood. I kind of want to have a beer. I'm not going to fucking not have a beer right now. But then that's kind of seems like that's part of the problem. You could be like, oh, it's a problem of your will. You don't have enough willpower. But it's like, yeah, okay, it could be willpower, but also it really is going to be more fun doing it this way. I mean, I'm not out there getting blackout drunk, wandering the streets. My buddy's in town, you know? So I did, in that regard, kind of let myself down. Am I just not taking accountability? Am I just making excuses? Maybe. But that was the situation. Also, we went to 3 bars, right, all together. First bar, the bartender was okay. Second bar, the bartender was extremely uninterested in anything. They're like, what do you want? And I was like, I'll do a Michelob Ultra. And then she goes, are your friends gonna drink? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you should ask them what they would like to drink. Maybe you should do your fucking job. So my friends were kind of like, hey, maybe you're exaggerating. She didn't seem that mean. And I was like, okay, like she didn't smile once. She didn't look at us. She's playing on her phone with her head straight down. If you did that at any other job, they'd fucking fire you. And also, you'd make the bar more money if you weren't so shitty at this. Then again, it's a chick and she's hot. So that kind of, if you're a hot bartender, you only have to be like 10% as good as a regular average bartender, which is why if you ask them for a specialty drink, they're going to look at you like, I don't know how to do that. And then you'd be like, well, you can just look up the ingredients. And they're like, I don't know if we have them. And you're like, you are in this building to serve a purpose. There is a wall of drinks. Do you want me to point them out for you? I can point out which ones to mix together and then shake it up and then you serve it to me. That is your fucking purpose here. This isn't like summer camp where you come to hang out and play on your phone. You're an actual bartender. You're the only one in this building. You're the only employee. And you're the least capable person. So that bartender just really didn't do shit. And on the way out, I was kind of like apologizing. I was like, hey guys, I promise you not all bartenders are this shitty. If we go to another bar, we'll get a good one. And of course that backfired on me. Of course it backfired on me. We went to the next bar. And it was a super, super nice bartender, a guy that I've known for years named Dave. Super nice guy. He's always really bubbly. He has a crazy character. Calls me Steven for some reason. He'll be like, hey, Steven, how are you? Haven't seen you in a few months, man. What have you been up to? Oh, these are your friends, huh? From out of town? Very cool. Very cool. So where are you guys from? And they go, oh, we're from Washington. And he goes, oh, I can talk slower if you need to. I know people in Washington are dumb. And then he goes, I'm just kidding. But my friends were like, wait, what the fuck? He was trying to make a friendly joke, but he accidentally said one of the rudest things any bartender has said that night on the heels of me saying that bartenders are much better than the previous place. So all he did was make me look worse by insulting them. And it was just, everything always falls apart when it's me. So he, in his mind, he really was trying to be funny and like make a joke, but the joke didn't land this time because he basically insulted their intelligence and like kind of made it seem like it's from where they're from. But then he tells me, he's like, listen, I was going to say that no matter where they said they were from. That's my joke. And I was like, well, fuck, dude. Like these guys aren't like, they're not super like comedy friendly at the moment. So I'm just like, fuck, that shit backfired on me. And he's like, so this is the nice bartender? We go back to the pool table. He's like, so this is the nice guy? This is who you wanted me to meet? The guy that insults where I'm from? And I'm like, no. He's like, I would have took that bored chick. That lady that was bored playing on her phone was way better than this guy. And I'm like, no, it's different. That's not what he's trying to make a joke, but he didn't realize. Like, these are the type of jokes that I make, but the context didn't work. Whatever. The night ended up being very fun and no hangover the next day, but certainly didn't feel like I kept my little promise to myself. And then I say, well, I can just do that another time. Well, guess what? What if I wanted to try to get through today? It's Halloween. There's going to be parties. There's going to be fun. There's going to be friends. There's going to be bitches. Every chick's going to pretend they're like a sexy vampire or a sexy nurse or a sexy something. Even fat, ugly chicks. It's Halloween. They're going to pretend they're a sexy something and gross everyone out. And that's going to make you want to drink. If I have to look at some fat chick's tits all night, I'm going to fucking drink. I want to forget about this because the more alcohol, the more like it really turns into Christmas. The more alcohol you drink and they start getting skinnier and more beautiful. And you're like, oh, what a great holiday. Generally, I don't like this holiday, but I'm going into it today a little bit more optimistic. And I feel like it might actually be a good time. So definitely not a good week to pretend I wanted to chill out on drinking. As far as skateboarding went this week, skateboarding was pretty fun. I did a live stream of skateboarding in my backyard on the mini ramp. Before that, I did a setup video where I showed you guys how to put together a skateboard and posed an interesting question for why do skateboarders break their decks, trying to get the videos to continue to be interactive. And I landed some pretty good tricks, and I did a front flip, completely ate shit on the ground, so that was fun. Once again, skating's going good, and I don't feel held back by like my health or my age or my knees or my feet. So that doesn't work. You guys forget, like maybe just as early as 5 years ago, I thought I was going to completely have to quit skating. So for me to be getting I don't know, not necessarily getting better at skating, but getting these tricks back and keeping this confidence and still being able to skate. I am really happy and proud of myself. And skating went well this week, and I think that's proof that something is working pretty good. What else has been going on? One more small topic. I think it's probably going to be a shorter podcast. I got down in the kitchen this week. If you're in the Discord, you can see the photos of what I made. I made a ribeye steak. I made chimichuri, but instead of parsley, I used cilantro, which I don't think parsley is that good. I know a lot of you guys hate cilantro. Maybe I have the gene for parsley that you guys have for cilantro, but it was so good. I followed the recipe pretty perfectly. I even crushed up red pepper flakes in like a mortar pestle and made the steak. It came out perfect, although it wasn't super good quality cut. Or not, it was a good quality cut, but not a good quality piece of meat. Did a ribeye, sliced it on the bias, did a trail of chimichurri across it, made some cheesy mashed potatoes that kind of turned orange. And guess where the vegetables were? Nowhere. I forgot to make vegetables, so it really was just a plain steak and potato day. I took a picture of the plate and was very proud of it. That's kind of the funnest part of cooking for me, especially if I'm cooking on Twitch. Even though I don't always know what I'm doing, I have learned a lot from these YouTube videos. The most exciting part is trying to take a picture, because I think that's also the most challenging. Food can taste really good, but still look like absolute dog shit. And that's where I end up at most times. As far as like presentation, it's always complete garbage, but the flavors are there, man. I've really been evolving. So I'm thinking maybe next week we'll go way far out of our element. And maybe we'll try something crazy, like a new seafood dish, maybe some type of seafood pasta, or maybe we'll do like an Indian food or something. Or maybe I'll bake something. I was also considering on stream, since I have a food processor that works pretty well, I wanted to consider maybe trying to make peanut butter on stream. It looks easy. I mean, it looks really easy. Peanuts, and then that's it. Peanuts, maybe some oil, salt, and then maybe honey or sugar. Boom, it's peanut butter. I just got to look it up. Could be easy, or I got to make bread one day. There's a lot of things I want to try to do, but we'll get around to it eventually. We did make tortillas once on stream because I didn't have any tortillas. Somebody was like, oh, do you have these ingredients? I had lard, flour, salt. I think that's pretty much it, right? And I had oil. I had like a chili oil. So I made like spicy tortillas. Boom, killed it. So basically I've made bread, but not really in that puffy form. So maybe that'll be something we'll work on in the future. I just wanted to bring it up to you guys because I'm feeling myself, proud of myself for doing it. And if you guys got something you might be thinking of working on, but it's a little bit outside of your element, maybe outside of your comfort zone, go out there and do it. What else has been going on? I've been watching movies and they have been kind of good, kind of bad. Rewatched Wind River, which is a movie about a murder on an Indian reservation. Pretty okay movie, I guess. Kind of like a thriller, mystery, whatever. It has, can't think of that guy's name, Renner. Jeremy Renner's in it. I watched it, I said it's okay, he's an okay actor. Then I watched Hurt Locker, which is a movie where the same actor, Jeremy Renner, is like a bomb squad tech where he disables bombs in like Afghanistan or Iraq or something. So that was kind of cool. And I looked up Hurt Locker on Rotten Tomatoes just to see, because every time I've watched it in the past, I've said, hey, this is a pretty good movie. Having watched it now 3 or 4 times, there's 2 things that I noticed this time. The way that the scenes end up being set up make it kind of a shitty movie. It's just one dangerous situation after another with nothing in the middle. You know, there's no downtime. It's just like, oh, crazy bomb situation, crazy bomb situation, crazy shootout, crazy bomb situation. Oh, fight with my friends on base, crazy bomb situation. Shootout in the middle of the desert. And there's nothing really linking these things together. Just a bunch of events that happen. And that was kind of lame. But also, I noticed something in the movie, and I don't want to spoil it for you guys. But at one point, if you look at what happens to the character Beckham, And then later in the movie, he reunites with Beckham. It sort of made me wonder if it was a mistake in the movie or, which is more likely, they're trying to say that this guy, Jeremy Renner, is addicted to just chaos. He will create chaos, and then his mind is so fucked up that he will shift actual reality. He will change the narrative of whatever he's doing so that it creates more chaos. He will kill as many people as he needs to, and he'll make up a reason why, even if that reason doesn't exist. So Beckham was his reasoning for going out and like taking hostages in the middle of the city, only to find out later that that was completely uncalled for. It had no purpose at all, and that he had imagined a situation that didn't happen. I never realized that the first like 3 times I watched the movie. And I'm trying to be really vague about how I explain this, just in case you guys haven't seen the movie. So the way that I explained it right now, I don't think that I've spoiled anything. But if you keep in mind the idea that this guy craves chaos and he craves danger, and he doesn't care who he hurts to get it. If you keep that in your mind and you watch the movie again, I think you'd be like, oh shit, this character's actually more complex than you thought before. If you haven't seen the movie, then everything I just said was a waste of your time. But check it out if you want to, if you like that. It's also kind of like a thriller movie with a lot of scenes of action. I also watched Karate Kid Legends. It's kind of like a side mission from Cobra Kai because it has some of the same actors, but the star is different, but they still have LaRusso is in there, but also Jackie Chan plays like Mr. Miyagi's best friend from like 50 years ago. So Jackie Chan is in it. And if you like those old movies and you have like that nostalgia, I think you're really going to love Karate Kid Legends, although it is a jumbled mess of shit. I mean, they really could have made this into its own series, or it should have at least been a 3-part series, because they pushed everything together so hard that the storyline eventually doesn't make any fucking sense. You know, like at one point, it's vengeance, and then at one point he has to prove something to his mother and father and brother, and then at the next time he's getting bullied, so is he fighting for bullying? And then there's a random dad that's fighting like bare knuckle. Like that doesn't have any bearing on the story at all. It's just too many ideas shoved together. So it really just didn't make any sense. Also in the end, I don't know if you could apply this to the original Karate Kid, but there's a scene. I'm kind of going to spoil this, but it's not really that much of a spoiler. If you've ever seen a karate movie, you know how they go. Basically, at the end of the movie, the star gets knocked out cold in the middle of a karate tournament. He's knocked out unconscious, and then he wakes up during like a count out, like 3, 2, 1, and he gets up. And he gets up, and you think, like me being a huge fan of combat sports, you would think maybe they would have tiptoed around that a little bit more, because you definitely, like, regarding CTE, and even like if you're like kind of like more into the sport than me, like what's happening to BJ Penn and what's happened to like War Machine and all these guys that eventually lose their minds from taking too many blows to the head. The last thing you would ever want a fighter to do, especially at like the amateur level, would be to fight while concussed, fight during a concussion. And then the last thing you'd ever expect is for like that fighter's mom and his coaches to be like, get up, get up. I know you're completely unconscious, and I know that we're doing irreversible damage to your brain, but I think you should fight some more, because who knows, maybe you'll win. And I thought that was so weird that they would just completely forget about that. And I don't need karate movies to be woke. You know what I mean? I don't need everything to be like Headgear and Balloon Boy, Bubble Boy. I don't need that. But it seems really hard to believe at this time in our sport, in the sport, with so many head injuries in football and all combat sports, rugby, boxing. You have boxers that get knocked out and they're fucking shaking for the rest of their life. Can't put a sentence together. You got Tito Ortiz, can't tell you his own name without stuttering or fucking spitting out some gobbledygook, right? That they would then make a movie that just praises being completely knocked out and then standing up and immediately fighting again. Really bad for your brain. And I think like a kid's movie, you would have thought they might have, you would have thought they might have avoided that. Then again, maybe I was just smoking too much weed that day. I don't know. I don't think we should make every movie into a soft, friendly princess movie. But fighting while concussed is something that is talked about all the time in like combat sports media. And I feel like whoever's like putting the movie together, you'd think they would have some knowledge of that. They might have like brought that to the table and been like, how about he doesn't go completely unconscious? How about he gets hit with like a crazy body kick? What if he gets hit with like a liver punch and then he's down and out? Or what if he gets the wind knocked out of him and he can't breathe? Maybe like those would be situations where you could then get up and fight again. Did he have to be completely unconscious? Okay. Well, I guess that's all I got for the podcast today. I appreciate you guys all hanging out. Go ahead and give me a oh hell yeah in the comments so I can shout out everyone that chose to hang out today. If you tuned in late, don't worry, you can watch the repeat of the podcast on Sundays. I almost said Monday. On Sundays on Podbean, on Spotify, on YouTube, podcast app, anywhere where you can find podcasts, you can find the podcast Stop Crying Poser. Extra big shout out to D Trick for tipping me $5. He says, "Happy Halloween, Steve, LOL. D Trick, you just bought my first beer of the night." Or I might go get Carl's Jr. after this. You might have bought my hamburger. I appreciate you for that. You guys, I love the support. I love when you guys support the podcast. You don't have to, because not everyone has $5. But here's the thing. If you have a friend, all you have to do is tell a friend about the podcast. Extra big shout out to iBookBoy, Kui, B Squared, Cam702, Satri, B Squared, Cam702, iBookBoy. Looks like the same names over and over again. I appreciate you guys all hanging out for the podcast. Hope everyone has a good Halloween. Be safe out there. Check the candy for razor blades and needles and poison. I just read a story of some lady in, I don't remember what state it was, but she drank a margarita and the restaurant poisoned her and then she died. She died a few weeks later from a margarita. So nothing you can really do about the margaritas, but maybe don't eat too much of that candy, especially if it's poisoned. Anyways, everyone have a great night, safe weekend. As I always say, don't drink too much and don't drink too little. Well, are your friends drinking? Bitch! Kill your fucking ass!